When I think about the future, when any of us look at where this is heading, we need to think about where we've been. And sadly, these kind of emergency powers that are born out of crises have a perfect history of abuse. I mean, down the board, whenever you look at these things, the funniest part about it, in a dark way, is that the emergency never ends. It becomes normalized when you talk about mass surveillance. The Bush-era warrantless wiretapping program, only part of it was shut down. And it's rolled over and it's rolled over and it's rolled over. And we've reformed things at the edges, but the basic practices of what was supposed to be a stopgap emergency, which was in response to another stopgap emergency, which was, of course, the legacy of 9/11 and the Patriot Act. And we are still today engaged in the same wars that we declared nearly 20 years ago that we have not managed to escape. We had, as a result of 9/11, the rise of nuclear Iran, because their counterbalance in Iraq was removed. We saw authoritarianism begin to creep across Western societies, places we wouldn't expect, like Hungary and Poland. As authoritarianism spreads, as emergency laws proliferate, as we sacrifice our rights, we also sacrifice our capability to arrest this slide into a less liberal and less free world. Do you truly believe that when the first wave, the second wave, the 16th wave of the coronavirus is a long forgotten memory, that these capabilities will not be kept, that these data sets will not be kept? Will those capabilities begin to be applied to small-time criminality? Will they begin to be applied to political analysis? Will they begin to be applied for doing things like performing a census? Will they be used for political polling? No matter how it is being used, what is being built is the architecture of oppression. And you might trust who is dealing with it today. You might trust who runs it. You might go, I don't care about Mark Zuckerberg, but someone else will have this data eventually. Some other country will have this data eventually. In your country, a different president will have control of this data eventually, and someone will abuse it.
And I wanted to ask you, step back, take some time. What should we be thinking about? What should we be concentrating on?
One of the things that strikes me is the sensation that this is, a bolt out of the blue. It couldn't have been prevented. It couldn't have been resisted. It couldn't have been imagined that this would come to pass, this global pandemic. When you think about the average American, they go to work every day. They spend 10 hours at the office, in the car, away from their family, away from their home. And by the end of the day, they've got no space to think. And now all of us collectively at the same time has been forced into a global sabbatical all around the world, which is an extraordinarily rare event in history. We are at one of the only moments that will be in our lifetimes where the system is so stressed and so overextended and the leadership so clearly out of its league that we have the ability to make not reformative changes, but revolutionary changes, that we can actually change the functioning of society, that we can actually change the structure of the system that controls and influences our lives, the way that we are being monitored, the way that we're being tracked. Because these systems, if we do not change them, will not simply be used to monitor our health. They're going to make decisions for us on an automated basis to determine who gets a job, who goes to school, who gets a loan, who gets a home, and who does not. And we today are being asked in a moment of extraordinary fear, what do we want these systems to look like? And if we don't make that decision ourselves, it will be made for us.